In the aftermath of World War II, deep within a classified Soviet research facility, a team of scientists embarked on an experiment that would forever alter the understanding of the human psyche. Their mission: to study the effects of extreme sleep deprivation. 5 prisoners, all political dissidents, were chosen as subjects. The deal was simple: endure 30 days without sleep, and they would be granted freedom. Unbeknownst to them, they were about to descend into a nightmare from which there was no escape. The chamber was hermetically sealed, with only a reinforced glass window and an array of microphones to monitor them. Inside, a continuous supply of an experimental stimulant gas was released, ensuring that sleep would be impossible. For the first 5 days, everything seemed normal. The prisoners talked among themselves, recalling their past lives. They even joked about their predicament. The scientists observed from their monitors, noting no significant changes. Then, on the 6th day, the tone inside the chamber changed. The conversations became dark, fragmented, disturbing. They whispered about horrific nightmares, despite the fact that none of them had slept. They spoke of shadowy figures lurking in the corners of the room, watching them. But nothing was there. On the 9th day, paranoia set in. The prisoners stopped speaking to each other. They began muttering to the microphones, confessing their deepest, most horrifying secrets. Then came the screaming, and then silence. By the 10th day, the researchers could hear nothing but static and shallow breathing. No more conversation, no more screams, no signs of life. Worried, the lead scientist made the call: "Open the chamber." As the doors hissed open, the first thing that struck them was the stench, an unbearable mix of blood, sweat, and decay. The sight inside was indescribable. The prisoners had mutilated themselves. Their fingernails had been torn off, their skin peeled away in strips. Some had gutted themselves, pulling out their own intestines with eerie fascination, as if they were toys. Yet they were alive. Their hollow, blackened eyes turned toward the researchers, and they smiled. A wet, gurgling voice spoke first. "We no longer need sleep." Panic erupted. Armed guards rushed in. But the prisoners, no, the creatures, attacked with inhuman ferocity, took bullets, many bullets. One by one, the subjects were put down. But they did not scream in pain. They laughed. In the chaos, only one remained. The last survivor was strapped to a table, his eyes wide, bloodshot, unblinking. The scientist leaned in and asked, "What are you?" The prisoner's lips curled into a grin, revealing blood-stained teeth. "We are you," he whispered. "We are the madness that lurks within you all." Before the scientist could react, the prisoner lunged forward, screaming, teeth bared. A single gunshot rang out, then silence. The experiment was over, but the horror they had unleashed would never be forgotten. The silence that followed the gunshot was deafening. The last prisoner, the one who had spoken those final, haunting words, now lay lifeless on the table. The room was filled with the acrid stench of blood, burnt gunpowder, and something far more unexplainable. Dr. Vasily Orlov, the lead scientist, stood frozen, the smoking gun still trembling in his grip. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing to rationalize what had just unfolded. What had they created? The guards, pale-faced and drenched in sweat, shifted uneasily. Some stared at the corpses, while others refused to look at all. Then, a low, raspy sound cut through the silence. Breathing. Dr. Orlov's blood ran cold. His eyes snapped to the examination table. The prisoner was still alive. A grotesque smile stretched across his mangled face. His chest rose and fell unevenly, his body riddled with bullet wounds, but he was still breathing. "Why did you stop?" he whispered, his voice raw and broken. "We were so close." To what? Orlov wanted to ask, but the words wouldn't leave his lips. With a shuddering breath, the scientist stepped back. "Burn it." The order was cold, final. No more tests, no more studies, no more experiments. The facility would be wiped clean. The chamber, the bodies, the research, all of it erased. Or so they thought. The incinerator roared to life. Flames, hotter than hell itself, licked hungrily at the bodies. Flesh blackened, curled, and cracked under the intense heat. And yet, the last prisoner did not scream. Through the roaring fire, the researchers heard something else. Laughter. It started as a low chuckle, then grew into something twisted, something inhuman. "We never needed sleep," the voice echoed through the facility as the fire raged. "We never needed bodies." The laughter did not stop. It grew louder and louder until it became something else entirely. By morning, the chamber was gone. Not destroyed, gone. The room that once held the nightmare had simply ceased to exist. No ashes, no debris, only an empty void, as if the experiment had never happened. But the researchers knew better. The guards who had witnessed the horrors vanished within the week. Some were found dead in their homes, their faces twisted in expressions of pure terror. Others simply disappeared, their existence erased like the chamber itself. Dr. Orloff left the project, his mind shattered beyond repair. He locked himself in his home, refusing to speak of what he had seen. But sometimes at night, he would wake up to a sound outside his window. A whisper, a chuckle, a voice that rasped just beyond the glass. "Are you still awake, doctor?"